Hey everyone, it's your boy Wade McElwain here with another Rant and Wade. That's right, another podcast just for me. Selfish ass. That's right. I decided to do another podcast again. Episode 7. No one's listening. Do I care? I don't really care. I don't. For me, it's a bit of cathartic just being able to talk, get stuff out there. And I got the rose-colored glasses on so I can feel good about things. What's going on in the world? War, hurricanes. Yeah, that's some good stuff right there. So I thought in this episode, they're like, hey, everyone, you run out of topics. I can keep talking forever, and I don't know if that's your voice. In this episode, what I'm talking about, I'm going to talk about drugs. Oh, you're so nasty. But drugs mean so many things, because when I first talk about drugs, everyone's going to be like, hey, he's talking about the drugs, like the real drugs that the people do. We see, drug epidemics, problems that we have, but I dare say there are many things that are drugs. I'm going to move this down just a little bit. Oh, yeah. Moving the thing just a bit. Wiggle it just a little bit. So when it comes to drugs, look, when I was a kid growing up on a farm in Canada, I was terrified of drugs. My older sister, like, you're into drugs, man. The people will get you into drugs and kill you. Which did happen eventually. No, not me being killed, but yeah, there was worry. Yeah, about drugs. What I'm saying is there's a lot of things that are more than drugs. Your phone is a drug. We can see it with kids. Religion, drug. Food for some people, I know, drug. Exercise, even for me, was a drug. Ironically enough, I injured myself exercising, and I can't exercise from injuring myself due to exercise. That is the rub of the drug. I've got a teenage daughter. She doesn't watch this. She wouldn't even care, and if she did, she would say, that's not my dad. Fair enough. Watching teenagers today and watching their addiction to cell phones. Oh. Now, yeah, look, I get it. It satiates a lot of the neurotransmitters, and like any kind of drug, it's there to find something that's maybe missing in your life, huh? Something that maybe pushes you or makes you feel better. It's something that's sort of that you go to because you need it. And a lot of people, coffee. You could say it's a drug when you see in the morning, yeah, coffee. Bleh. To a degree, drug. Yeah, you need it. And if you go off of it, you feel bad. Smoking, huh? Now that, you kids today. See, I grew up in an area where everything smelled of smoke. If you lived in the 70s and 80s, everything smelled of cigarettes. You smelled of cigarettes because people smoked everywhere. You go to a restaurant and it was literally smoking or non-smoking. It didn't matter. Like, we're still smoking in the restaurant. The non-smoking section could be 5 feet away from you, 2 meters, and it's nothing real. There's no partition. There's no thing sucking it up to clean up the air. You find a lot, like when I first moved to Britain, actually, smoking. Ooh, that's a nasty one. Because smoking, actually, look at it. It was a drug that for ages, because they were paying off the doctors and the medical associations in America, it was one of those drugs that everyone's like, oh, God, come on, man. Like, this is obviously a lot of people dying of cancer. No, it's good for you. And when they finally got caught, there was still a big thing in the 80s where tobacco companies just said no. They disavowed that there was any link to cancer. And now what are they doing? Investing their money in other things. So, drugs. Why do we take them? Well, I think that if there were no drugs available, we would still find ways to alter our consciousness based on the fact that maybe we've just created this lifestyle for us in humanity that's just not only cruel, but if you're not up to speed or you're not rich, man, it makes you just want to go, what's the point? Can I just do drugs? I don't know if you say it in that voice. But the fact is that a lot of people, it's a way of dropping out, in a way. Those kind of drugs, the crazy drugs. We've always had this sort of worry, this Puritan, people get addicted. They get addicted to it. Yeah, people get addicted to anything. If you leave people alone enough, they'll get addicted to something. What is it? I did mention religion being a drug, but they're like anything. If you do something too much, you raise the risk of becoming dependent on it. And so in a lot of cases, your best way, I would say, someone who does drugs, is to, no matter what you're doing, if you're doing something, take a break from it, no matter what it is. That could be religion. It could be eating. You need perspective at some point, because the problem is, in a lot of cases with drugs, is you become so into that lifestyle and so into just the process and the ins and outs of it all, that you fail to recognize and realize just how much it might change you. And drugs do change you. You know, you have a lot of people, and I know people who smoke weed continuously. If you smoke things over years, it is going to affect you. Alcohol, again, big drug. It's a social drug, but in some cases, it's good to obviously take a break. I took a break from it for many years, and you know, one thing I joked about is sobriety was the best drug, because I'd never been that clean for a while, and my brain was just doing nutty things. So I would also say that whatever drugs you're doing, or whatever kind of, you know, fits your monkey, take a break from it. Yeah, you need to look at it and go, hey man, I need to look at me. What am I doing? That goes, and I said, for religion, for food, for everything, you got to take a break from things. Now, the whole thing as well that I would say too, this is an old guy talking to you, is that you also want to look at what is it that makes you addictive? Like what is it that you're trying to get to, and what is it you're missing out on? You know, the therapist or the rapist might help you with some of that, but you really need to do a deep down dive into why am I doing this? You know, because for a lot of people, and you know, and you look at something like cocaine, which interesting enough, when I worked for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire as a writer, name dropping, we read studies on the addictiveness, how addictive drugs were. And surprisingly, the highest one, heroin was right up there. This is before fentanyl. But heroin was quite high. Tobacco was one of the highest ones, because normally tobacco is graded on a scale of 100. And tobacco was normally in the 50s, but because of the additives they put into it, it was in the 70s. Cocaine, what? Not addictive physically, the studies had said, but emotionally addictive. And it's one of those, I know people. And you see people, your jaws moving like this and moving. You can see people, cokeheads, hell of a drug. But it's really a debilitating one. I see a lot in Britain. We see a lot of that, and ketamine and stuff like that. I'm not used to. You just sort of see someone's like, oh, man. But repetitive, that people are just so coked-headed. They do it every day. They spend all their money on it. And, man, that changes your personality, because the stuff they put in it, and coke is just this manic drug. So that's a really scary one. I would say, you know, if you get into cocaine, you better have money and a way out. So I guess part of it is also, what I'm getting at, is isolate your vices, right? We all have vices. We all have things that we need. And what you really need to do is, if you are going to do stuff, figure out what's the one thing. If you got rid of all of it, you know, if you're, say, doing tobacco, and you're doing coffee, and you're doing religion, and you're working out religiously, what's the one you wouldn't give up? What's the one you're like, you know what, every day I need me some God. Every day I need this. And so, or every day I need to go to the gym. You need to isolate those vices and focus on those, because what happens is that vices combine. You know, it's people who say, I only drink when I smoke, you know, or I only smoke when I drink. You hope it's the other way. So when those kind of things happen, you need to say, what are the vices that are codependent? What are the vices that, you know, I sort of mix together that make you less susceptible to being yourself? Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't do drugs. I'm saying you should, actually. But what I'm saying is you need to be able to detract yourself from it and be able to figure out who you are and figure out why you're doing it. Well, for someone like me, for like cannabis, it's a reward after working all day. Now I recognize it makes me foggy. And so you don't want to do too much. And you also don't want it to affect your sleep, and you don't want it to affect your sociability. And so those are things that I've balanced when, you know, in my sort of things. But that you still want to be social, you still want to have a brain, and you also don't want to be some turtle, where you just sort of drop into your own place and you're not able to socialize. You see that particularly with cokeheads, in that they can't really talk to people, and they're also going to the toilets like every 30 seconds. Not for the poo, for more coke. And so, you know, you've got a lot of this, and then, of course, you know, you look at the big drug problem, which is pharma. Big pharma. Big pharma is horrible. I mean, sure, they've saved lives and stuff like that, but we still have this Wall Street mentality, where it's make profit, and there are some great drugs, you know, anti-malarial and things like that could help, you know, Africa and Asia and people that can't afford those drugs. No, charge them up high. And this, you know, that that Skirna, whatever that guy, the Wu-Tang guy, just part of it. He's one of that whole thing. Martin, I try to forget the names of horrible people. But he was the guy that, basically said, we're just going to keep charging people. And that's sort of the idea of big pharma is you can always tell about a country as well based on how much they spend on advertising. If you ever watch American television, it's always like, have you got this? Have you got anal leakage? Well, you could take this. And the fact that, damn, big pharma is all over the place. It means they got so much money to spend because they're making so much money. And there also is that dependency in America where you see these ads where the doctors are obviously being paid by big pharma. And they'll, hey, do you feel this? Do you have this? Well, why don't you try this drug? Hey, try a couple of these. And you don't get that. Here in Britain, we don't get, in fact, it's very difficult to get it sometimes. They're like, no, you're fine. Just take some Alka-Seltzer. Don't go to the pub. So when big pharma gets involved into the scape and then starts, corrupting doctors and the healthcare professionals, that's worrisome. That's a very worrisome thing. And you started to see them, particularly with the opioid crisis. They don't care. They don't care. It's like someone else gets fired, but at the end of the day, someone will take the hit for it. But as long as they're beholden to their shareholders, this is going to continue. Like they will just replace it and just work on their PR and try to turn off their PR machine. Because they're just going to say, no, we're doing it for the common good. And you think about all that money, all the money on those ads, like the ads that they spend, which is crazy. Also, if you get one of those ads, I know I do acting and stuff like that, as you can tell. If you got that acting, you are that anal leakage guy, It's like, yeah, my anus just keeps leaking all the time. And all your friends are like, serious acting roles are, there's not too many, I don't know of any really famous actors who can look back and say, yeah, I had that pharma commercial. So that's a drug. Money's a big drug. But money now has become a necessity of life just because, it's people are doing drugs because of the wealth divide too, right? Like if you're looking at it, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. They can afford nicer drugs, but they also afford better rehab, can't they? And that's also part of the whole process is that, when you look at drugs, just on how cheap they've become, the fact that you've got house moms doing heroin, and you can get things for under a tenner these days. The fact that drugs are cheaper than alcohol, those are problems that you're going to have. And the wealth divide means that, someone can send someone off to some one of those fancy rehabs, which, by the way, do not work. All right? I'm going to be upfront, and you can contact me if you're one of those rehabs, but I've never seen a success story come out of there. Everyone pays a lot of money to go in there, and they think they're getting something, and they're not. And in fact, the only times I've ever seen anyone successfully beat drugs is mentally doing it themselves and just saying, I'm done, I'm quitting it, I'm doing it. But that wealth divide is that if you're addicted to drugs here, or if you're addicted to drugs, they just try to wean you off it and put you onto something else. You think about, the opioid crisis and what they were trying to do, and this was supposed to get people off of pain medications, and you just made them more addictive to it. And so as a result of which, there's this whole sort of thing of, look, we want, the problem with our economy is we want a nation of addicts. A nation of addicts is good for business. Why do you think McDonald's does so well? And obviously the corporations want to talk about the shortcomings and the fact that they're, idiots sometimes. But the fact remains is that the rich are getting richer off of it. Poor are getting poorer, and the poor are getting more addicted to it. It's only a matter of time before they start making drugs out of us. And you're starting to get more designer drugs these days, particularly the younger generation. They're mixing things together. I've often joked that pretty soon you'll be able to go into a store and build your own drug. Go, give me a bit of MDMA, give me some psilocybin, give me some mescaline. It's going to be like a Build-A-Bear for adults, except they're drugs. And can't wait to go home and play with them. So that being said, too, there are some drugs that, when I talked about me going off and being sober and cleaning up for a bit, there's certain drugs that I would suggest. Any of the mind-enhancing ones, I've never done I think I've done ketamine, but I didn't mean to. It was one of those, you're like, oh, what is this? They're like, oh, it's ket. I'm like, I don't like it. Apparently, it's going to help treat people with PTSD. MDMA, psilocybin, LSD. Now, those are your triad, the happy triad, of things that I would say that you should at least maybe try once in your life. What's life for? If you're willing to try religion, why not pop a pill just once and see what happens? MDMA, as you probably know, I didn't try any of this stuff till I was in my 30s. I'm not going to lie. I did not do drugs even in my teens. I did not do them in my 20s. I maybe smoked a bit of pot, never did any drugs. Not till I was in my 30s. I would recommend that, by the way, too, just because live life, man. Experience disappointment. Experience some things before you get some bad habits going. Well, I will say about MDMA. When I tried it, man, it was interesting. Very good. Very fun. Lots of love. Lots of dance. Lots of sweat. And, if you get, obviously, anything good to the source, and pure is very good. Stuff is not so good. Yeah. Ecstasy, that kind of thing, sort of different. I'll always tell you, too, if you are going to do those things or any kind of drugs, prepare for them. Don't just do things willy-nilly. Make it like something special. Mushrooms were a big thing when I was younger, 30. But we would do psilocybin kind of parties. And as a result of which, it's never do a massive party and people on mushrooms too. You got to choose a place for mushrooms. Mushrooms, like anything, it's a toxin, right? So in many cases, when you take it, you are going to throw up because it's your body going, hey, I don't like this. This is poison. But that's where the drug comes from, right? It comes from your body going, I don't like this. Oh, let's trip. And you'll find that a lot with MDMA as well. People who do that, or, it's basically your body's way of telling you, yeah, we're good. We're done with this. Listen to your body. So if you throw up from doing something, yeah, stop. Stop. Even if you love it, you probably don't love it that much because it's not loving you. Yeah, harsh no, your buzzes, I know. But look, man, I'm just telling you, as someone who's done drugs before, long time ago, that you should... Yeah, I've never done any of the hard stuff, like the class of this stuff. I'm a mild turkey. And to me now, coffee, exercise, sleep. Oh my gosh, that's a drug. It's too bad you couldn't really say sleep is a drug because I would get me my 8 hours. Oh man, I gotta get some. Getting in 8 hours of sleep and feeling that good. Oh, kiddos, you don't even realize that, especially if you do a lot of drugs. You ever know somebody who does a lot of drugs and they never sleep? That is horrible for you. I'm going to tell you, as you get older, that stuff adds up. It's like, putting some bad funds in the bank in that one. You need good sleep. And it's an interesting thing, too, because, Coke is Coke. I can go back to the Coke. Maybe because I'm thinking of Deadpool. They talk about it a lot. You see a lot of people, and that's the one thing that I notice is just a lot of the problems with the addictiveness is the Coke one. And it leads to other things. And it's just, they're not nice people to be around. I'd rather, I don't know if I'd rather be in with a Bible thumper, but between a Bible thumper and a Coke head, I don't know. We're both kind of horrible. They both talk a lot. And you're probably going to lose some money to them. I guess it's got to be too. Like I'm getting off on drugs here on a drug rant. What's your motivation? What is it that you're looking for? I would suggest too that psilocybin, LSD is fun. It's pretty intense. You're not gonna get the one good thing I will say about psilocybin mushrooms is that after you've done it for a few days, you feel very good. And there's a lot of studies that are out there that show that it makes you happy, and you feel lovely. If you prepare for this and you're getting ready to do a nice mushroom sesh, what you're gonna do, get your friends and have everything ready to eat ahead of time. And when you do it, it's magical. It truly is magical. And depending how you do the dosage, for me personally, I like to mix it with a little vitamin C and then sip on some tea. And I've been at parties where nobody knew I was on anything, but damn, I was hilarious. I was funny. I was charming. I was like, your friend is hilarious. Like, he's on mushrooms. It's like, but I was mild. I wasn't tripping. I was just like, hey, just sipping tea. And that lasted for like 8 hours. I then finished, had a big meal, went home, got a great sleep, and I felt great for 4 days. Like just waking up happy. I wake up happy anyway, which is sort of my drug. I know, happiness. Thanks to my dad, Harv. Thanks for that. He instilled happiness and positivity. That's a bit of a drug too. People hate it here in Britain. But so the psilocybin, feeling that positivity, I've done psilocybin and LSD before mixed together. That's just not smart. That was just too much. And you learn that. You learn. So what I'm saying to you folks is when it comes to drugs, here's my price list. No, I'm kidding. That's crazy, eh? The price list of stuff you can get. You know how hard it was to get stuff when I was a kid? You had to know someone. You knew someone, and then it was days. It was not like, he's going to be here in an hour. It's going to be like, hey, next Friday. I don't know, man. I don't know. You wouldn't, people had mobile, landlines. We didn't have the mobiles. All right. I'm moving on to things. Companies bother me. Companies. There's a lot of scams. A lot of companies I hate. Meta. That's Facebook. They're the worst. Everyone I've known who's worked there is an asshole. Spotify. Oh my God. Spotify, folks. Spotify breaks the law a lot. They fuck over artists. They're horrible. Don't use Spotify. If you can, use Spotify down and take all your stuff off of it and go back to iTunes or whatever. Spotify. And Octopus Energy. They're another company here in Britain. They're horrible. They just lie all the time. They're just like, here's your energy bill. You're like, I don't think so. They're like, we made up the rates. You're going to have to pay that. It's what we made up. You have to pay it. God. So, this negative stuff bothers me. Asshole companies. I should do one on asshole companies. Just to people, because, I'm a consumer affairs advocate, and a lot of times I've gone after these people. I like to sue them. I'm suing Thames Water again. That's right, fuckers. Again, for lying. Just lying. They're like, you owe a couple hundred. I'm like, I just talked to you today. You said I don't know anything. Nah, you owe 200. I'm like, nah, you owe 210. I'm like, the fuck you just said? They just make up stuff. It makes me angry. That's why lemonade doesn't make me angry. Lemonade, by the way, when you get it in Britain, the first time I get here, I go to a restaurant, you gotta get a lemonade. It's Sprite. It's literally Sprite. She gives me a Sprite, and I'm like, the fuck? And she was Eastern European, I North American, and we had a real argument about it, of what lemonade was, and I'm like, this is not lemonade. Show me anywhere. And I got her on the Sprite bottle. I said, show me anywhere it's called lemonade. Show me anywhere. So like a picture of a lime on it. I go, it's not a lemon. Anyway, I was eventually kicked out of that place, and I went back. Lemonade. All right, so I talked about waking up happy every day. And one of the things about drugs and what we're going into, I want to talk about your mornings, folks. How are your mornings? Now, I did mention that I wake up happy every day. Don't know what it is. I think it's part of my dad, just part of my personality, but I do wake up positive and singing. And my daughter used to think it was weird because I get up very early, like really early, like old man early. Like the other day, I was up at 3. I went to bed at 8. Like last night, I went to bed at 8, and I was up today at 4. Yeah, I love my sleep. I love it dark out. I love it nice and cold. In the summertime, I like it when it's like pitch black out. You open up all your doors and windows, and the cold air just comes in. I love the cold, too. I don't turn on heat. Octopus, assholes. I never use the heat, assholes. I'm Canadian. Yeah, calm, meditate. One of the things I do notice, though, particularly with this digital lifestyle, is all the kids that reach their phones immediately. As soon as you wake up, grab your phone. And I'm telling you, kids, I'm telling y'all, don't do it. Don't do it. So let me give you a bit of a thing on when you wake up. Look, your brain, it's just coming down. It's just gone from your subconscious, right? Your subconscious has been running it. It's been doing stuff, partying. And I'll get into your subconscious another one because I'm very good with my subconscious. I learned how to meditate. I've learned how to hypnotize myself. And also, I can fly in my dreams. I can fall asleep just like that. I can almost snap. Fall asleep just like that. Within hitting this pillow, I'm out. And so, it's a good thing to be able to have that. Being able to have a sleep and be able to fall asleep, very good. So when you wake up, your brain is still not there. Your brain's still like, blah, blah, blah. What's going on? It's still firing. The synapses are going. Your Abdullah Oblongata is like, what's happening, fella? What are we doing? And what I would suggest what you do is just meditate, calm, just relax. Now, when you wake up, just sit there, breathe, and think to yourself, what am I going to do today? What is going to make my day special? One of the things I like to do in the morning is, think of a reasonable target list. I usually do it throughout the week, but I make a list of the things I want to get done that week, maybe 5 top things that I want to get done, and hit that list. And if I hit that list, I feel very good about it. The good thing, again, for me is getting up so early is that I'm at my computer by 5 and working, that by noon I've done 7 hours of work, right? And so from there, I can sort of take off at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I've just sort of done it. Employers don't like that, by the way. They're like, you have to work 9 to 5. I'm like, wah, 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 wah. Nobody cares about that. Part of meditating, part of calming. So when I say when you first wake up, don't think about anything. Just smile. Do some happy salutations. Stretch a bit. Just roll a bit in bed. Figure out how you're feeling. How's your body doing today? How are you doing today? Check in with yourself. Don't think about things. And it's also, when you're going to bed, what I would also suggest is before you go to bed, don't do TV, don't do your phone, don't smoke or drink or anything. When you go to bed, you want to just celebrate yourself, right? You want to not think about work or bills or anything. It's easier to fall asleep if you're happy with you and positive with you. And the same thing when you wake up. Think about you. Be positive with you. Think about, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is my day. This is my sunshines today. And having those sort of moments where you're celebrating yourself, where you're focusing on your calm and just on your brain development, just on, I'm going to wake up. Okay, I'm going to wake up. Look, because you're going to be going to your computer, you're going to your phone all day. You don't need to jump on it right away. I know, like, I'm a big NFL fan, as you probably know. In a lot of cases, I miss the games because they're here in the UK. I wake up early, and I catch that game the next day. Now, especially if I had some money on it, betting is another drug. I don't really bet that much. Literally 20 quid a year. So when you wake up, normally I'd want, I got to check, but I wait. And then, if you want, you can check your phone quickly, but as soon as you check your phone, I would literally give yourself a minute and a half, 2 minutes with it, because I'm going to be at my computer anyway. I'm going to be up. What do I need to check all this stuff? I don't need to be on it right away. So I do it quickly. The next thing that I like to focus on is your gut, not your gut, my gut, but I'll focus on your gut too. As you probably know, when you're hitting yourself with a bunch of coffee in the morning and a bunch of other things, depending on your body type and, how your metabolism works, for some people, when I used to be a personal trainer, I would always say to people, eat as much as you want in the mornings, especially as you get older. Focus, just hammer that breakfast, go nuts. Have as much bread and stuff as you want till noon, especially if you're working out, then taper her down. More veg, lots more veg. And as you get towards the end of the night, less food. You shouldn't be eating 3 hours before bed. It's not going to help you. And you're going to feel bad doing it. Just focus on water. If you're going to eat something before bed, try to eat popcorn, vegetables, things like that. But your gut is very important. And so part of the thing is your gut health in the morning is to check it, because this is how you start your day. And if you just pour in a bunch of coffee down, it can be harsh. It can be harsh on your stomach, particularly when you want to stretch. So I like to do a bit of stretch and exercise when I wake up while I'm waiting for the coffee to boil. Pardon me. Ooh, a little talking coughs. But then also what I like to do is I like a little apple cider vinegar with some water, nail it back. Now it tastes like you're drinking apple cider vinegar with water, warm water. But my stomach has felt really great as a result of drinking this apple cider vinegar. And it gets you this whole like, ooh, hey. And so what it does is help settle the gut, right? You get your gut settled. You got your brain settled. Then you've got to working on your brain. It's what I like to do is once I sit down at my computer, I'm very, very, very focused. So the first 3 hours, man, I am just because I got my brains going and I'm really pushing through stuff. I'm getting all the things done that I need to get done. But it also helps that I have a plan. As I say, every Sunday I sketch out my week of things that I want to get done. 5 to 7 things per day that I'd like to get done. They're on my hit list. And if I nail the list, that's great. If I don't nail the list, it's got to get done the next day, particularly things that happen. So having that plan of getting the work done. But also, I think there's other things that you need to also schedule. You need to learn every day, all right? When you have something you're going to learn today, what is it you're going to learn? Because if you're just going through the same routine and you're just going through this circular nature where this chicken with your head cut off, you're not really learning anything. And your brain is going to grow every time you learn. Teach yourself something new. Go onto a different website, learn something. It may not be like going to Duolingo or anything like that, which does help. But maybe it's going to learning new facts. Maybe it's learning a different perspective. Finding different videos, just going, oh my gosh, that's really interesting. That's always going to help you. The other thing that's also going to help you too is having some breaks throughout the day. Make sure you structure your breaks. It's one thing to work around. I know a lot of people work from home. you've got to have that stick-to-itiveness to it. And, I see a lot of people go to coffee shops and it's not a good place to work. It's particularly if you're not using a VPN. Have your breaks planned throughout the day. And when you're waking up, think this is like, okay, I'm at noon, I'm going to do this. I need to give myself this. Break it down. Give yourself perspective. Don't push yourself under too many things. And when you wake up in the morning, just be realistic, There's going to be times you don't feel full. There's going to be days where your heart's broken. There's going to be days where you just don't feel like you've got that work ethic in you, and that's okay. You know what? There are days you don't have to go full out because there are other days that you will. And having a bit of a plan and focusing, meditating, knowing what your calm is, being able to get to that happy place without getting through drugs, because a lot of times people go, you know what, I'm going to have a cigarette now, or I'm going to do this. Give yourself a break, be realistic, be patient with yourself, okay? I a lot of times too, and I was with a friend who was doing some road rage, who was freaking out. I'm like, how patient are you with yourself? Because when you're yelling at someone and oh, you did this and did this, yeah, okay. Could you put that mirror on yourself? When you get angry, when you get frustrated, know that it's probably either you're hangry, you're not balancing things out well enough, you're not looking at things from a different perspective, or you're just not calm. And find that calm. Relax, folks. Relax. Find the happiness. And if you're having problems, reach out. Reach out to people. But I would suggest slimming yourself down in terms of mentally, all right? And addiction-wise. Figure out who you are. What do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What's the pathway that takes you there? Sometimes it's not an easy question. It's not an easy answer. But figuring that out will get you off the drugs, help you sleep better. And maybe it is a mushroom session that puts you on your path. Who knows? What I'm saying is, folks, give yourself a break. Be good to you, because the world is not good to you right now. The world's a horrible place, and if you read the messaging, if you see what everything is saying, what people are talking about, man, it's very negative. So being able to get a nice sleep, being able to wake up, and not find yourself into the throes of addiction, okay? I want you to also be aware of that, particularly if you have children, I have friends that drink around their children. I personally didn't drink around my daughter for the reason I never talked about her mother, about her. It's really not her luggage to carry, It's really not her problem. And to see daddy drunk would not be good, and I wouldn't want that. So she, particularly the few years that I was sober, she was very, very supportive of me. Your children are always watching, all right? So if you're smoking, my mom smoked, and that's one of the reasons none of the kids in our family smoke, because we watch my mom and smoking, you're like, oh my God, that's horrible. And watching her addiction. And then obviously when my mom quit, we all rallied because what a wonderful thing she did. She was able to beat her addictions, beat them on her own terms. And it's amazing. Your children are always watching. So that comes to how you react, how you meditate, how you deal with calm, how you deal with pain, and how you deal with other people. And part of that comes down to balance of your drugs, your use, your happiness, your everything. I don't know if this is going to help any of you folks. This is the podcast that nobody listens to. But for me and Rant and Wade, episode 7, where I talk about drugs and just finding your morning routine, please do it and be calm and don't be hard on yourself, all right? Your hardest person to be is on you. Just, take a break. It's okay to take a day and just go, or a half day or a full day, and just go, I'm going to take a me day. I'm going to take a me day today and work on me. Don't be selfish. I mean, you are going to be selfish, but don't ruin it. Be positive with it. Make sure that if you are going to take a me day, that the day afterwards benefits from that day. Because you got all of you. You nourished all of you. You charged the battery to 100%. You're ready to kick ass. So don't be too hard on yourself. Be positive on yourself. And have some goals, folks. I love you. I never met you. I'm sure I dropped the L word too early. That's me. That's just me throwing the love out there. Folks, enjoy. Until next time.